There's a sign-in. There's a sign-in page. I'm not. Oh, okay.
Okay, this being the time and place for the regular scheduled meeting of the City of Decatur Planning Commission, I'd like to call us to order. Let me first say the conduct of the meeting will be subject to restrictions implemented to comply with social separation requirements during the current crisis. We are considering items that have been recommended to be essential by the Technical Review Committee, a subcommittee of the Planning Commission. In the chamber today, the seats have been marked to ensure that no one is closer than 6 feet to anyone else in both the board area and for the audience. The requirements will be strictly enforced. Provisions have been made for the public to view the meeting and ask questions. If you wish to comment on a case, we ask that you email us now at planning@decatur-al.gov. So any of the cases that have been advertised, if you have comments that you would like to make, and if you're not here, then you can email those to planning@decatur-al.gov. Please include your name and street address. Okay, I'm going to call the roll. Lawrence, of course, I'm here. Borden?
Here.
Tate?
Here.
Ard? Wynn?
Here.
Temple? Burris?
Here.
Culpepper?
Here.
Pike? Okay, we do have a quorum. Are there any corrections or additions to the minutes of last month's meeting? All right, do we have a motion to accept the stated minutes?
Motion to approve.
We have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, motion by Mr. Borden, second by Mr. Wynn. All in favor state aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, the minutes have been approved. The format for this meeting will be as follows. A representative from the Planning Department will read each case being presented to the Commission today. The first part of today's meeting is a public hearing for these items. Minor plats or plats that have more than 3 lots, direct access to all public services, and a topo provided for review. Rezonings, this is a change of the current zoning of a property to a different zoning. The Commission will vote to recommend or not recommend the change to the City Council. If an applicant wishes to go on to the City Council without a recommendation from the Planning Commission, they should notify the Planning Department via email or in writing tomorrow. And we also have a pre-zoning. Section 11-52-85 makes provisions for municipalities to apply a zoning district to properties contiguous to the city limits with an agreement that the property will be annexed within 6 months of the pre-zoning being completed. This also moves forward to the City Council. Okay, we had a minor plat, Indian Hills Estate, which is file number, well, it doesn't have a file number, it's just Indian Hills Estate. We failed to notify the public in writing about this minor plat, which was asking to subdivide a piece of property into 4 separate parcels. We're required to notify in writing all adjacent property owners and property owners in the neighborhood. And we failed to do that. So we're going to have to table that request for that minor plat until next month. So if you're here for that case, we won't be hearing it today. We will notify, and it will be on next month's agenda. Okay, there were also 2 other cases on the agenda that were taken care of last month, and they will not be on today's agenda. That's case 3498-20 and 3499-20. That was at East Canterbury Avenue Southwest and north of Dafford Street Southwest. So that request was handled in last month's meeting, so it's no need for it to be on the agenda today. Let me see what else. Each item during the public hearing will be read separately and voted on after comments and discussion. If you wish to speak to any of these items after they're read, we'll give you an opportunity to come forward, speak for or against it. We ask that you state your name and your address. After the case that you're here for is complete, you're free to leave at that time, or you can stay for the entire meeting if you would like. Okay, now we will start with the first case.
All right, first item under public hearing, rezoning 1356-20. This pertains to 1.46 acres, currently zoned R1. Applicant is Edgar and Catherine Engberg. The location is 4109 Highway 31 South. Request for a rezoning to B2. The proposed land use is frame shop. The 1 Decatur future land use, residential low density, 1 Decatur street typology. Highway 31 South is a major arterial. There are no conditions, but points of information include any relocation of utilities will be at the owner's expense. A landscape buffer may be required between the property and adjoining residential properties, and it's important to make sure that the zoning in this area is more consistent in the long term.
Okay, is there anyone from the public that would wish to speak concerning this case? Okay, do we have a motion to recommend?
Motion for approval?
Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, I have a motion by Mr. Borden, second by Ms. Tate. Any questions or comments from any member of the commission? Okay, then I will call the roll. Lawrence, I vote yes. Borden?
Yes.
Tate?
Yes.
Wynn?
Yes.
Burrows?
Yes.
Culpepper?
Yes.
Okay, this case has been approved. Go to the next case, please.
Next item on the agenda, rezoning 1360-20 pertaining to 75.23 acres. Current zone is Ag 2. The applicant is P. Wright McAnally for W.G. Peebles III and John Brent Peebles. The location is south of Viv Garrett Road, west of I-65. Request is rezoning to M1. Proposed land use, commercial, 1 Decatur future land use, Flex Employment Center, 1 Decatur street typology. Viv Garrett Road is a local street. Conditions to be met, check for $300 made out to City of Decatur, copy of the deed, points of information. Any relocation of utilities will be at owner's expense.
Anyone from the public wish to speak on this case? Yes, sir, if you'll come forward. You'll come to the podium, please, sir.
Good afternoon. My name is John Eister. I reside at 1501 Lyndhurst Drive, Chattanooga, Tennessee. I appreciate the opportunity to speak here for just a minute. My comments are not in opposition to the proposed rezoning, but just some general comments on this corridor area in general. I'm a trustee of some of the adjoining land here, and I would just maybe remind the Planning Commission, the City Council, and current leadership that the 1 Decatur plan has called for, an attractive gateway development into this area, and I know the Grahams and the folks that Peebles are working with, and they, I think, have plans to build a very attractive tilt wall concrete building near this area. I'm not sure what the Peebles plan on doing with the rest of the property there, but I think they've been good stewards of their land for many years and will continue to do so. I think the more important issue is, the access to this area. Right now, I think by virtue of a bill grant, there's a plan for an interchange across Highway 20 that some of the landowners have been in opposition to, and I would just mention that the cost of right-of-way has gone up significantly for the city and may continue to do so if that latest valuation is challenged in a jury trial if either side chooses to appeal. And so I just wanted the Decatur to be aware that the cost of that project could be a good bit higher than it maybe was originally planned to be, and just make sure that the Planning Commission and the council were aware of that, and the city was prepared to be able to pay what that cost might be. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else wish to speak to this case? Okay, do we have a motion to recommend approval to the council?
Motion to approve.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay. Motion by Mr. Borden, second by Mr. Nguyen. Any questions or comments from anyone on the commission? If not, call the roll. I vote yes. Borden?
Yes.
Tate?
Yes.
Nguyen?
Yes.
Burrows?
Yes.
Culpepper?
Yes.
Okay, that's 6. So this, we will be recommending to the council to approve this rezoning request.
Next on the agenda, rezoning 1361-20, or I'm sorry, zoning request 1361-20. That's 1.67 acres. Applicant is Racetrack Petroleum. The location is Highway 20 South at Beltline Road. The request is to pre-zone to M1A prior to annexation. Proposed land use, convenience store and gas station, One Decatur future land use, Flex Employment Center, the One Decatur street typology, Highway 20 South and Beltline Road are principal arterials. The conditions to be met, as proposed by the TRC, contingent upon annexation into City of Decatur in 180 days, and contingent on sale and appropriate subdivision of the 1.67 acre parcel from Foster Properties 6.54 acre parcel, and consolidation with the existing parcel. Point of information, any relocation of utilities will be at owner's expense.
Is there anyone from the public that would wish to speak to this case? Yes, sir.
Good afternoon. My name is Bert Boykin. My address is 2001 Park Place North, Suite 540, Birmingham, Alabama 35203. I'm here on behalf of my client, Racetrack Petroleum, who is the applicant on this pre-zoning request. The current owner of the property is Foster Properties, Inc. As was stated a moment ago, the request is to pre-zone 1.67 acres M1A. This property is currently under the jurisdiction of Morgan County. Racetrack owns the immediately adjacent property, and I've provided a kind of a exhibit to this application to the planning office, and I have copies if you guys don't have this, but
Let me see what it looks like, see if we have it.
it's kind of a site layout. Racetrack owns the existing raceway property, which is within the limits of the city of Decatur, and is zoned M1A, the pre-zoning classification we're requesting. The contract property will be used for an expansion of this site. Kind of the sequence of what we expect, we're under contract to purchase the property. That will occur in the near future, but the seller wishes that we don't officially annex prior to closing. So that's why we're pursuing the pre-zoning, and as far as the conditions that have been stated by the zoning committee, those are understandable. We would just ask for that the commission consider that we don't anticipate replatting or subdividing until after we close. The seller doesn't necessarily want us to break off that piece until, the title's been transferred. So I'm here to answer any questions that someone might have, but I think that's the basis of the application. I thank you for your time.
Okay, for those of you that are connected through WebEx, the drawing that he's given us is very similar to the one that's on page 20, not exact in representation. So, to the south of the current raceway property, there's, I'm taking that there's a little over 85 feet, and then to the east, 175 feet. Okay. So the representation that we have on page 20 to scale looks a little larger than that, but it's still in the same area. Is there anyone else from the public that would wish to speak to this case? Okay, do I have a motion to recommend approval to the council?
Motion to approve?
Second.
Okay. Motion by Mr. Borden, second by Mrs. Tate. Is there any questions or comments from anyone on the commission? Okay, I'll call the roll. Lawrence, I vote yes. Borden?
Yes.
Tate?
Yes.
Wynn?
Yes.
Burrows?
Yes.
Culpepper?
Yes.
Okay, this case has been approved to be recommended to the city council to rezone this to this request.
Okay,
Not rezone, pre-zone. Okay,
Next on the agenda, we have rezoning request 1362-20. This pertains to 32.32 acres, currently zoned ID and R2. The applicant, Pewright McAnally for Vernon Lane. Address is 2735 Old Moulton Road, and it also borders Auburn Drive. Their request is for a rezoning to Ag 1 with the proposed land use of cattle grazing / farm. The 1 Decatur future land use is residential low density. The 1 Decatur street typology, Old Moulton Road southwest is a minor arterial, and Auburn Drive southwest is an urban collector. There were no conditions to be met. Point of information is that we ask that ID and R2 are both noted on application, and any relocation of utilities will be at owner's expense.
is there anyone from the public that would wish to speak to this case? Okay, do we have a okay, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Little sinus
Hold on,
drainage.
we do have someone to speak.
Hey, I'm Tab Bowling, and I live at 1907 Weatherly Circle, Decatur, Alabama, 35603. Our home backs up to the property that's in mention. I have something that I can read from the residents. This is from one of our board members. I've spoken with several neighbors on the street that I live on, which is Weatherly Circle, and our board members about the requesters putting cows and/or horses on the land with no objections at all, as long as he can keep them fenced in. I think it will be real positive for all of us. So with that, we haven't had any. I think there was maybe two that talked with some other commissioners, but the feedback has been very positive about being able to kind of look out your back door and see the country, see a pasture out there and things of that nature. So anyway, thank you for your service, and I just wanted to share that.
Okay, thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to speak?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
this is Blake McAnally, speaking on behalf of the applicant Vernon Lane. Just to bring you all up to speed fully about what is planned here. Mr. Lane, as you all know, owned this property owned it for several decades. He also was the owner and developer of City View Estates. The R2 portion of City View Estates is undeveloped and is still in pasture land today. I think Mr. Lane has after all these years, is still holding about 15 lots that are unsold and undeveloped. And the family have made a decision to not press forward with developing any more of the property. And it is Mr. Lane's intention to come back onto this 32 acres and to build his personal home, one house on the 32 acres. And it was always agricultural land before and used for that purpose. And essentially, he just wishes to return it back to what it was prior to. I would also point out to you that we have already been before the Board of Zoning and Adjustments with respect to the ID property, because the portion where his home is going to sit is about 300 feet from the closest home to where his closest point of his new construction would be. He's much closer towards Old Moulton Road than he is the current subdivision. And we've been before the BOZA board and received an approval for use on appeal for a dwelling to be placed in the ID. It's just, at this point, we'd just like to clean up the balance of the property and have it rezoned back to where it was originally, agricultural use, which is his intent.
Okay. Anyone else have a comment? Okay, do we have a motion to recommend this to the council?
Motion to approve.
Okay, do I have a second?
Second.
A second by Mr. Borden. Motion by Mr. Borden, second by Mr. Nguyen. Any comments or questions from anyone on the commission?
Well, my only comment, Ken, is that according to the Cater 1 plan, residential area.
Yes, in the one Decatur plan, the future land use of this property, well, it's already zoned residential, and one Decatur shows it to continue to be a residential, low-density zoning. Any other comments?
I have a comment. If the current owner wants to have cattle on the land and then he sells it to someone else that wants to do something that the neighbors are not in favor of, then they have no recourse. Is that correct?
That's correct. As long as they use it for any use permitted in an Ag 1 zoning district. That would be correct.
Thank you.
Anyone else have a comment, question?
I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman, is this public comment or not?
Yes, you can go ahead, public comment, yes.
I would point out that Ag 1 requires that homes that are constructed in that conform to an R1 zoning district. As far as so if you do make it Ag 1, the homes that get built in there or home that gets built there has to conform to R1, which is the most restrictive of all the residential zones currently. And I would also point out that there are significant limitations, even with agriculture, of what can happen on that property. And if it's commercial of any nature, that would change the use of the property, and it would have to come back before this body to be approved for a commercial use versus a residential use. So you couldn't just go in there and put in a commercial farm without approval of the city, and I do not believe Ag 1 allows that anyway.
But Ag 1 also allow a whole lot of more other things to be put in that area.
So, Ms. Tate, Ms. Burrows, are your concerns homes being built or livestock or commercial uses. Mr. McAnally is correct that, I mean, you can have a farm, but you can't sell items in an Ag 1 without going before the Board of Zoning Adjustments and getting a variance to that.
Right, but you can also have a dairy farm, a poultry raising, fish hatchery, so many other things that do not have to be commercial.
That's correct, you sure can.
You know, currently the property is institutional, and that's because there was a school on the property at one time, long ago. And that school has been raised decades ago. There's a lot afforded the opportunity to be in the institutional zone too, with the fact of getting a use on appeal, which also includes R4 uses for multifamily, which is not what is being pursued here by any measure. Honestly, it's just a man who wants to live back on the property that he's owned for decades and do the same thing he's always done.
Right. The concerns that I have heard deal with the cattle adjacent to the R2 properties. The ID property is out on Moulton Road, correct? It's the front part of this parcel.
That's correct. It has the map that's on the planning department's map is a little bit odd. I'm not really sure how that got created. It's been created some time ago, but the institutional portion is more to the west and southwest.
So the concern that I have been addressed with are the cattle closer to the homes, which Mr. Boland stated that, you know, he lives there and he doesn't have a concern with that. And some of his neighbors stated the same thing, that I have seen that from the president of the homeowners association, that they were not an objection to this, but some of the other homeowners in the neighborhood do object to it. Any other comments or questions? Okay, I will call the roll. And Lawrence, I vote no. Borden,
Yes.
Tate,
No,
Wynn,
Yes.
Burrows,
No.
Culpepper.
Yes.
Okay, this is a split vote, so the request fails to move forward with our recommendation.
Next, we have the consent agenda. The first item on the consent agenda is Certificate 3494-20. This pertains to 1.16 acres currently zoned R1. The applicant is Pewright McAnally for Mike and Elizabeth Vickery. The location is 2009 16th Avenue Southeast. The request is to adjust the lot lines to create 2 lots from 3 existing lots. And the 1 Decatur future land use is residential low density. The 1 Decatur street typology, 16th Ave Southeast and Stratford Road Southeast are urban collectors. Conditions to be met, we have recording fees, signed and sealed survey, and to show appropriate right-of-way on final survey. And point of information, any relocation of utilities will be at the owner's expense.
Okay, anyone from the public wish to speak to this? Okay, do we have a motion
Motion for approval?
and a second? Y'all don't be shy.
Second.
All right. Motion by Mr. Borden, second by Mrs. Tate. Any comments or questions from the commission? Okay, I'll call the roll. Yes. Borden?
Yes.
Tate?
Yes.
Wynn?
Yes.
Burrows?
Yes.
Culpepper?
Yes.
Okay, this request has been approved.
Next item on the agenda, certificate 3495-20, that's at page 30. This
Hold
is-
on, I missed part of it. Let me explain to the public. This is the consent agenda, and we normally would read these all together. These are items that we have final say-so. They do not move forward to the city council. So I sort of got myself out of order there, so I'm gonna let Joseph read them all. Then if you have a comment to make on any of these cases, you're welcome to come forward after he reads them all.
We'll start from the beginning.
Start from the second one. We voted on the first one already, so you can go ahead.
All right,
Now, wait a
so,
minute, that's only one more, right? No, there's two more.
so at page 30, certificate 3495-20, that's 4.379 acres, current zone R3 and Ag 1. The applicant, Pew Wright McAnally for Linda Ferguson. The location is 2012 Shady Grove Lane. The request is to consolidate 4 lots into 2 parcels. The one Decatur future land use is residential low density. Shady Grove Lane Southwest is a minor arterial. For conditions, the recording fees, a signed letter requesting consolidation, a signed and sealed survey, septic approval by Morgan County Health Department for Lot A. Points of information, this will result in split zoning of Tract B, which is not preferable. Any relocation of utilities will be at the owner's expense. Next on the consent agenda is certificate 3496-20, that's at page 35. That's 0.987 acres, zoned R2. Applicant Travis Henry for James D. Morrill. Location, Price Drive Southwest at Danville Road Southwest. And the request is to adjust the lot lines to create 3 lots out of an existing 4 parcels. One Decatur future land use, it's a core neighborhood, and the street typology. Price Drive Southwest is a local street. Danville Road Southwest is a minor arterial. Under conditions, we have recording fees. Under points of information, any relocation of utilities will be at owner's expense. And then next on the consent agenda, at page 40, we have certificate 3497-20. That's 28.67 acres. Current zone is Ag 1. Applicants are H.M. Nolan and Jeff Barker. The address is 3820 South Wood Trail Road Southwest. Request is to consolidate 2 lots into 1. The one Decatur future land use is residential low density. One Decatur street typology, South Wood Trail Road Southwest is a local street. Conditions to be met, we have recording fees and need a signed and sealed survey. Points of information, any relocation of utilities will be at owner's expense.
Okay, that was the last one. Okay, anyone from the public wish to comment on any of these cases? If not, do we have a motion from the commission to approve these cases?
Motion to approve?
We have a second?
Second.
All right.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Borden, second by Ms. Tate. Any questions or comments from the planning commission? Okay, I vote yes. Mr. Borden?
Yes.
Tate?
Yes.
Wynn?
Yes.
Burrows?
Yes.
Culpepper?
Yes.
Okay. So all these items on the consent agenda are approved. And then we have one last item in other business.
So other business, we have Deerfoot Estates Edition 5. Applicant IRA Innovations. Location is Deerfoot Estates Edition number 5. Request bond review for Deerfoot 5 public improvements. The bond coming due August 29th, 2020. Department will send a letter. The One Decatur future land use, residential low density, and One Decatur street typology, Deerfoot Way Southwest is an urban collector. Point of information, review by city engineer. This is an update. Planning department will generate a letter to IRA Innovation.
Okay, is there anyone from the public that would wish to speak to this? Okay, before we make a motion, let me explain. The Planning Commission can grant up to 1 year of a bond extension. What we're holding a bond for now in this subdivision is work that should already be completed. So I'm going to recommend that we give the Planning Department the authority to work with the property owner to get this, the remainder of this work completed within the next 30 days, or make arrangements for that to be done, and give them the authority to, if they need be, to extend the bond for up to 6 months. But try to get with the property owner and have this done as soon as possible. And if not, then go ahead and call the bond and the city complete this work on this project. So I'm going to go ahead and make that motion that we give the Planning Department authority to work with the property owner to get this work completed, or if they need to, extend the bond for up to 6 months.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, so I have a motion by myself, second by Mr. Borden. Any comments or questions from anyone on the Planning Commission? All right, I vote yes. Mr. Borden?
Yes.
Mrs. Tate?
Yes.
Mr. Wynn?
Yes.
Mrs. Burrows?
Yes.
Mr. Culpepper?
Yes.
Okay, so we're granting that authority to the Planning Department. If there's no other business to be brought before the commission today, do we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
All in favor state aye.
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 We are adjourned.
Aye.
Thank you.